brothers at odds, introducing Zung and Zembedi. In the heart of Alert Subiaco, two brothers stood divided. Zung and Zembedi, once inseparable, now faced a chasm of resentment. Their story is one of cosmic proportions, much like the vast universe that surrounds us. It's a tale of pride and forgiveness, of choices that can alter the course of lives. Zung, the elder brother, stood tall and unyielding. His pride was as solid as the bedrock beneath our feet. He held on to past grievances like a black hole, letting nothing escape. Zembedi, the younger, was different. He was like a nebula, ready to form new stars of reconciliation. Their conflict centered around food, that most basic of human needs. Zung refused to share, his heart hardened by memories of perceived wrongs. Zembedi, hungry and humbled, sought to mend the rift. But the gap between them seemed as vast as the space between galaxies. As we observe this human drama, we're reminded of the delicate balance in our universe. Just as cosmic forces can tear apart or bring together, so too can human emotions shape the fate of individuals and communities. The stage was set for a lesson as old as time itself. A plea for forgiveness. Zembedi's humble request. Zembedi approached his brother with the caution of an astronaut stepping onto an unknown planet. His words were soft, his posture submissive. "Brother," he said, "I come seeking your forgiveness." The air between them crackled with tension, like the static before a lightning strike. Zembedi's plea was heartfelt. He acknowledged his past mistakes, laying them bare like constellations in the night sky. His voice trembled with sincerity as he spoke of regret and the desire for reconciliation. It was a brave act, as daring as the first step on the moon. In that moment, Zembedi showed true courage. It takes strength to admit one's faults, to reach out across the void of hurt and anger. His humility shone like a beacon in the darkness, a guiding light for all who witnessed it. The onlookers held their breath, waiting to see how Zung would respond. Would he accept this olive branch? Or would his pride prove as unyielding as the laws of physics? The fate of both brothers hung in the balance, much like the delicate equilibrium that keeps our planet in orbit. The stubborn refusal. Zung's unyielding pride. Zung's response was as cold as the depths of space. His eyes, hard as flint, showed no warmth. "No," he said, the word falling like a meteorite. "I will not forgive, I will not share." His stance was rigid, unyielding as the core of a neutron star. Pride had taken root in Zung's heart, growing like a parasite. It fed on his anger, his sense of righteousness. He saw himself as the wronged party, the victim of past injustices. In his mind, forgiveness was weakness. Sharing was surrender. Zung's refusal sent shockwaves through the community. It was a display of stubbornness that defied logic, much like the paradoxes we encounter in quantum physics. How could one be so blind to the opportunity for healing, so deaf to the pleas of his own flesh and blood? The brothers stood there, separated by mere feet. Yet the distance between them seemed as vast as the gap between galaxies. Zung's pride had created a barrier as impenetrable as the event horizon of a black hole. And like a black hole, it threatened to consume everything around it. Alert Subiaco, a community divided. The people of Alert Subiaco watched this drama unfold with growing concern. Like observers of a cosmic event, they found themselves drawn into the brothers' conflict. Opinions began to form, sides were taken. The community, once united, now faced its own division. Some sympathized with Zung. They argued that he had the right to his feelings, to hold on to his grudges. These voices were like the steady drumbeat of pulsars, constant and unyielding. They spoke of justice and the importance of standing one's ground. Others rallied behind Zembedi. They saw in his humility a path to healing, a chance for growth. These voices rose like the harmonies of stellar winds, calling for compassion and forgiveness. They recognized the courage it took to ask for a second chance. As the debate raged, alert Subiaco found itself at a crossroads. The choice before them was as significant as the fork in a river's path. Would they choose the way of pride and division, or would they embrace forgiveness and unity? The answer would shape their community for generations to come. Section 5. The Power of Humility, Zembedi's Growing Support. As days passed, a shift began in alert Subiaco. Like the slow turn of our planet, opinions started to change. Zembedi's humility touched hearts. His willingness to admit fault and seek reconciliation resonated with many. It was like watching a star being born, a new light in the darkness. People started to reach out to Zembedi. They offered food, shelter, and most importantly, understanding. His humility had opened doors that pride had kept shut. It was a powerful lesson in human nature, as profound as the laws that govern our universe. Zembedi accepted this help with grace and gratitude. He didn't gloat or seek revenge. Instead, he worked hard to prove himself worthy of the community's trust. His actions were like the steady burn of a sun, consistent and life-giving. The support for Zembedi grew like ripples in a pond. Each act of kindness inspired another. Soon a network of compassion spread through alert Subiaco. It was a beautiful sight, reminiscent of the intricate web of galaxies that form our cosmic neighborhood. Section 6. Pride's Isolating Effect, Zung's Lonely Path. While Zembedi found support, Zung's path grew increasingly lonely. His pride, once a shield, now became a prison. Like a star collapsing in on itself, Zung's world began to shrink. He refused help, spurned kindness, and clung to his anger like a lifeline. The community's attempts to reach out were met with hostility. Zung saw their efforts as attacks on his dignity. He couldn't understand why people sided with his brother. In his mind, he was the victim, the one deserving of sympathy. But his actions only pushed people further away. Zung's isolation deepened with each passing day. He found himself alone with dwindling resources. The food he had refused to share became scarce, yet still he wouldn't relent. His pride had become a black hole, sucking in all light and warmth. The contrast between the brothers was stark. Zembedi, surrounded by friends, thrived. Zung, alone and bitter, withered. It was a living example of Newton's third law. For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Zung's pride had set in motion forces that now worked against him. Section 7. The Turning Tide Community Rallies around Zembedi. As Zung isolated himself, the community's support for Zembedi grew stronger. It was like watching a solar system form, with Zembedi at the center and supporters orbiting around him. People were drawn to his humility and his genuine desire for reconciliation. Zembedi's actions spoke louder than words. He worked tirelessly to help others, to give back to those who had supported him. His gratitude was as boundless as the universe itself. He became a symbol of redemption, a living testament to the power of forgiveness. The people of alert Subiaco found themselves inspired by Zembedi's example. They began to look at their own lives, their own grudges and resentments. Many found the courage to seek reconciliation in their own relationships. It was like watching a chain reaction, each act of forgiveness triggering another. This wave of positivity transformed alert Subiaco. The community became stronger, more united. They faced challenges together, supporting each other through difficult times. It was a beautiful example of how individual actions can have far-reaching consequences, much like the butterfly effect in chaos theory. Section 8. Consequences unfold. Zung's downward spiral. While Zembedi flourished, Zung's situation grew dire. His refusal to accept help or change his ways led to severe consequences. Food became scarce in his household. His health began to suffer. It was a stark illustration of the law of cause and effect. Zeng's pride prevented him from seeking help, even as his need grew desperate. He saw asking for assistance as admitting defeat, so he suffered in silence, his anger turning inward. It was like watching a star in its death throes burning through its last reserves of fuel. The community watched Zeng's decline with sadness. Many tried to reach out to offer a lifeline, but Zeng rebuffed all attempts at help. His pride had become a force of destruction, as powerful and uncontrollable as a supernova. Zeng's story became a cautionary tale in Alert Subiaco. Parents used it to teach their children about the dangers of unchecked pride. It was a harsh lesson, but an important one. Just as we learn from the violent events in our universe, so too can we learn from human mistakes. Section 9, Triumph of Forgiveness, Zembedi's Redemption. As Zeng's situation worsened, Zembedi faced a crucial decision. Despite the pain of rejection, he chose to reach out once more. It was an act of true forgiveness, as powerful as the force that holds atoms together. Zembedi approached his brother's house, bearing food and an open heart. This time, Zeng's defenses crumbled. Weakened by hunger and isolation, he finally saw the error of his ways. The moment of reconciliation was like the birth of a new star, bright and full of hope. Tears were shed, apologies exchanged, and a bridge was built over the chasm of pride. Zembedi's forgiveness transformed both brothers. Zeng, humbled by his brother's compassion, began to change. He learned to ask for help, to express gratitude. Zembedi in turn found peace in letting go of past hurts. Their relationship, once broken, began to heal. The community celebrated this reconciliation. It was a victory for compassion, a triumph of the human spirit. Like the harmony of celestial bodies in their orbits, Zeng and Zembedi found a new balance. Their story became a source of inspiration, a reminder of the power of forgiveness. Section 10. Lessons Learned, the Moral of the Tale. The tale of Zeng and Zembedi offers profound lessons. It shows us the destructive nature of pride, how it can isolate and blind us. Like a massive star that collapses into a black hole, unchecked pride can destroy everything in its path. On the other hand, we see the transformative power of forgiveness and humility. Zembedi's actions demonstrate how these qualities can heal wounds and build communities. It's a reminder that, like the force of gravity, the power of compassion can bring people together. The story also highlights the importance of community support. Alert Subiaco's response to the brothers' conflict shows how collective action can shape individual destinies. It's a microcosm of how societies function, each person's actions influencing the whole. In the end, we're left with a powerful moral pride divides, but forgiveness unites. It's a lesson as timeless as the stars, as relevant to our lives as the air we breathe. As we navigate our own conflicts and challenges, may we remember the story of Zeng and Zembedi. May we choose humility over pride, forgiveness over resentment, and unity over division. For in doing so, we align ourselves with the very forces that hold our universe together.